But what do you think happens if your growth expenses go faster than your?
I know.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the crux of the issue, right? And so.
And this has been. Nancy Shepard and Sid Espinosa tried to fix this. I think they made some good progress on it.
I think a lot of people have been trying to address this, but it's really hard, right? It's really, especially right now, because right now it's kind of like we have one of the best unemployment rates, I think, since 1968. So it's certainly the best of my lifetime. So it's like a really, really booming economy, and so it's hard to get employees. And so there've been.
Oh, now I said to get employees because no one can live here.
That's another reason, right?
Well, no, I had a conversation with a police officer. I have the house that's sort of adjacent across the street, not directly, but one over, is owned by Paolo Eris. Her family owned most of Cal Ave at one point.
Oh, okay.
And her adopted son has no visible means of support and has lots of unsavory friends over all the time. And he's calmed down. He's actually calmed down a lot recently. There was an honest to goodness arrest on our street, which surprised us. It was actually fascinating. I can tell you about it if you want to hear about it. It was really interesting. He calmed down. That kind of got him to got their attention or something. But I've given up trying. And at one point, he was dealing meth out of the house.
Oh my God! This is in Palo Alto?
Oh God, yes.
Okay.
Oh no. At one point, I mean, it was like there was like about 2 years. It was really scary having this guy. And of course, none of the neighbors, if any of the neighbors would go get together, well, I'm afraid I don't want him to target me.
That's
like,
it.
Look, there are 5 of us.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
one of him. If we all work together, we can get him boxed in and get his behavior in line.
Yeah.
He's, I really don't care what he does in his house. It's how it affects the rest of us. But, that sort of backed down after about 2 years. And then there was another 5 years that were or 4 years that were kind of, he's slowly getting a little bit better. But if there's a crime center, at one point so I don't sleep really well all the time. As you get older, this happens. And I'll be up periodically at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning. And it was one of those times I was up, and I have my curtains up now so I can see what's going on. And someone raced down the street. This is a dead end street. So if someone races on the street, you hear it because it's like yelling car. Runs out of the car with a box, bangs on the side door. Side door opens up, box goes in the house, man runs back into the car, drives off. And 5 or 10 minutes, I'm like, that was strange. I'm sitting there watching. And 5 or 10 minutes later, the patrol car moves slowly down the street, stops, goes away. They didn't see which out. They couldn't. I'm like, oh, for Christ's sake. So it's like the crime center in Palo Alto is across from my street. I can't get the police to do anything about it. I've been in and talked to them in person. At this point, it's, he's calming down. And fortunately, none of us have been targeted immediately. But he has, and it would be by the people coming to the house. And,
so is this guy dealing drugs from his house?
he was.
Oh my God.
Well, pot is now legal, so it's not as much. He backed it down. He dropped the methamphetamine. Finally. No, I remember I talked to his mother, who I know really well. And I said, Fida, do you understand that if he gets a drug conviction, the feds will seize your house? Doesn't matter. Yeah. If you have someone in your house dealing drugs, doesn't matter if you don't know about it. Yeah. and that's when the meth stopped.
Oh.
That was right. Then we got that. She, she's afraid of him, actually. Or so I've been told. Don't know that for sure. I suspect that's true.
Yeah.
So they have, but more attached to holding onto her property than she is afraid of her son. Well, the last time I talked to PAPD to have him, there was a car on the street without plates and without registration and with, that was very, could you just come check out this car? It's been there, it's been there a couple of days and it looks suspicious. And anything that looks really suspicious that's linked to that house, and it wasn't. But I talked to the police officer and I said, yeah, this is why I'm concerned. And I figure the only way we're going to get any action, any improvement in that house is we're going to have to move out and rent our house below market rate to the police. And the police are so, they're very, 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 they have a just stone-faced all the time. And just, they don't react at all, ever. And I heard from him, I've never heard a police officer do it. I said, yeah, you could walk to work. He was like, yeah. I mean, the thought,
Yeah.
this guy must be commuting in from God knows where, Tracy or Stockton or something, where this is, it's like the trauma. Have you actually done that drive? Have you done the drive up from Gilroy recently? I do. I have a horse trailer park down there.
Okay.
And there's about 3 hours during the day when that road isn't going 20 miles an hour. And I've been stuck in it enough times. I'm like, my God, people do this day after day after day. And it's like, yeah, it's housing. So anyway, I don't have to go on that, but it's interesting. So housing and other people can get other jobs elsewhere. Jim Cott, who was it? Who was doing, he was kind of an ass, but he was doing a fantastic job. Jaime.
Oh, Jaime, yes. Jaime Rodriguez.
Yeah, it's like, I get it. He's in Hayward now.
Something like that.
Yeah,
East Bay, somewhere in East Bay, I think.
Yeah, it's like he better commute.
Yeah.
You know, so why the heck am I going to go there when I get all these other municipalities are now having money to fund these positions?
Yeah. So I think so. That's one thing is just our expense growth versus our revenue growth, right? I think that's one issue. I think the other one is,
I have seen some long-term city employees play the council. It's like Tom Marshall in utilities.
I don't know.
I've been watching him play the council for years. It's like his profession is not running utilities. He's in city public utilities. His profession is managing the council and getting what he wants. So that's part of it. There is, these people, long-time career employees, they specialize in managing the council and getting what it's a real skill. That's why people ream the developers, but that's why the big developers get what they want, because they have people who have specialized in working their way through. They can support an employee who specializes, or someone who they know how to work through the council members are there for 4 years, 8 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know what the term limit is.
It's 2 terms.
Now, how long has that been?
I'm not sure, but
so you take someone over a 30-year career and they learn how to work the council, and you can't keep that coming. So a lot of that expenses, I'm sure, is coming from. Yeah.
I mean,
let's see how much money benefits we can't get the salary raises. Let's go for the benefits, and they can get the benefits, but not the salary raises. Yeah, let's make it cushier and cushier. So there's some of that.
Yeah. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is on contracts, right? So do you remember? Well, I think it's still in downtown, but like the upgrade downtown.
They haven't gotten very far on it, have they?
Well, like they're digging up all the pipelines and stuff.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not sure you've been to downtown recently, but
I avoid downtown like the plague.
Okay, yeah. So for the past, I don't know, 6 months or 8 months or so, they've been digging up the pipelines, right? And I think originally that was supposed to be like a $10 million capital improvement project. And I think right now it's like 18 million.
Double.
Right? Not quite double, but almost, right? Some of it's just because of construction costs, but some of it's also because of just our procurement practices, right? So this was what they call a direct award, right? So in most cities, direct awards are very rare. Direct award, what it means is, rather than putting an open bid, it's directly awarded to a certain contractor. In this case, it was actually directed to Ranger Pipelines. And the reason why we heard about it was because another contractor who wanted to bid on this project came to city council to talk about it.
So why didn't you do a direct award? That was dumb.
Like, why didn't you have it as an open bid, right? And that way, there's some competition on it. Because imagine you're going to add on to your house, right? Let's say it's going
yeah, like we can ever have competition for contractors. In Palo Alto, I would love to improve my house, but I can't get a contractor who's any good.
Yeah, it's really hard right now. Right?
Oh my God, no, it's not. Yes, in a perfect world, in a decent world, we'd have you go for bids and you evaluate who you thought was doing a good job.
Yeah. So one of the issues was that this contract, which was to upgrade the pipelines in downtown. Was a direct award, right? So the problem with direct awards is you don't really get competitive bidding, right? And so what I heard from the contractor that Dalio, right, who wanted to bid on this project.
Dalio is a bad actor, but go ahead.
I don't know who.
I do know about them. They're a bad actor.
Oh, really? Okay.
But go ahead.
Okay. Anyways, what that contractor was saying was that. Because I asked him, like, because normally the way the process works is normally you give RFP, right, request for proposal, request for quotation, and then people bid on it, right?
Mhm.
And then you pick the best bid, right? That's
Mhm.
that's no procurement process. But what sometimes happens is there's bids that are put out there, but they have maybe a certain amount of unreasonableness to it, right?
Mhm.
So in this case, the reason why the original bid for this pipeline project got no bids was because it had a clause in there or something to the effect that you have to work on Christmas and all the holidays.
You have to work on Christmas and the holidays?
Yeah, or something to that effect, right? And so no contractor bid on it. So what happens is if
Why did they put that? Oh, because so that they can get work done.
Oh, I think it's because they want it done as quickly as possible. So it's probably, I don't think it's nefarious. I don't think it was because of.
No, but also it may be those are days you can actually get work done.
Well, I think it's because they want this project done as quickly as possible, so it's less disturbance, right? I think
Not enough Jewish contractors.
So, I think
They've gone into white collar. What can you say?
Well, I think that so the challenge is that when that happens, then it gives a right to bid directly to contractors, and so in my opinion, what should have happened is rather than just doing a direct award, this should have gone for bid again with less restrictive working times, and that way you get multiple bids, right? But instead, it was directly awarded, right? So we went from 10 million to about, I think it was $16 million plus $2 million contingency, so about $18 million total, right? Instead of $10 million, right? So that's an example, right? That's an example of the kind of procurement process. I think in most cities, number of direct awards is extremely low, but it's
Who's making the council makes these decisions as a group?
the council made a decision. I voted against that, but my colleagues voted for it.
It's hard.
It's really hard, yeah.
It's really hard. I don't, people have said to me, "Yo, you're so involved in city politics," which I don't really feel like I am because I'm not sitting on any committee. My work hours conflict with all the committee meeting hours. And I don't know that I'd be of benefit to any of the committees. I just have a lot of opinions. I don't necessarily have a lot of experience. I have the experience I have, but not.
Yeah. So, I mean.
It's hard to get the right people in the right position, but I watch, I read the council minutes and the contract disputes. It's like, I couldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole in terms of being able to understand what's actually going on here. So I can understand what's so.
Yeah, I mean it's
So you see something structural that could be solved.
Well, I mean, generally when you're like going to make a major expenditure, it usually behooves you to shop around, right? Usually you want to shop around.
Right. No. This makes a lot of sense. It's just, right. I wonder if there's the flaw seems that you've got. Well, it's going to be 7 elected officials.
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot easier, right? Because
that's 30 years overdue.
Well, I mean, one thing is you have really long meetings, but also like the balance of power between staff and council changes. Because right now, to be honest, most of the powers are actually with staff, right? And so I think it goes down to 7. It changes a bit.
It's a good number. Oh no! I think it was. It's
I think it's probably better than 9. So.
Oh, much. Oh, it's going to be huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I served on a planning commission at 7. And I found the body a lot more effective than the 9 members, just because.
Oh no!
It's kind of unwieldy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's something. So that may be just in terms of changes of. That may be. You think that might do it?
Well, I mean, I think because I've been pounding on this for the last couple of years on council. So actually, I have seen staff make some improvements towards this. Now,
interesting.
So now, for instance, they actually put down what the bid summaries were, right? Like how many bids they get. Right, what was the top bid, what was the low bid, right? So at least they're doing, at least before in the staff report, there'd be nothing. It'd be like, you didn't know how many bids there were. We didn't know if there's another bid. We didn't know what the high bid was. We didn't know what the low bid was.
You're kidding!
That was the standard.
No!
So
oh my Lord!
So every consent calendar, I would just like rail against this, right? And finally, right, like for the past few months or so, they're actually trying to put this in there, right? Because they know that if they put it in there, I'm going to ask about it, right? And I'm going to vote against it. But the honest truth is most of my colleagues are so busy that they don't have time to really look at this very closely. And so because on consent calendar, it's an automatic yes. And so they don't have time to really look at that closely. And so they kind of just give it a pass, right?
Which is what's been happening for 50 years.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm not sure we are getting the best value for our money as a result. For me, I think maybe
I would have believed that. I would believe that. I had some. interesting interactions with City Powell Utilities.
Mhm.
Gosh, I think it was 5 years ago. Over talk about, when we don't have time to go into all the details, and I don't remember them because it was lengthy. And one of the City Powell, I had one of my neighbors worked for City of Powell Utilities for a while, and boy, did I get an earful. And he quit. He's up in New Mexico now, and the one worker who I started chatting up on the street, and yeah, it was absolutely, hair raising, eyebrow raising. It was just what was going on in the behind the scenes with the contracts.
Yeah, I mean,
it was just like, this is just bullshit. How is this happening? So there you go.
Well,
that's it.
Well,
that's it. People being, and
I mean,
and this has been going on for years and years, for decades.
On an individual basis. If you looked at some of these contracts, you would never personally ever do a contract like this because it financially makes no sense. But the city does this all the time because
they're just trying to work around a too big, cumbersome council when most people don't have.
Yeah, I mean it's
an
hard.
Area of expertise to understand what's really going on.
Yeah, I mean it's hard, and also for most part, most people in Palo Alto aren't up in arms about this kind of stuff. They're more up in arms of other type of issues.
Traffic. Excuse me.
Right. Yeah, that's right. So
right,
yeah,
but they don't. No.
So in terms of
parking on the street because there isn't room. They don't use their garage. The garage is stuffed. Their driveway is used for the basketball court.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know. And they want to park 4 cars on the street.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating, but not a lot.
Yeah, but that's when people are up and
not that it isn't a problem.
Yeah.
Not that, but it's just a much smaller one than just see what pinches them.
Yeah. So a lot of people aren't following the finances, because the finances are kind of opaque, right? And it's kind of
yes,
kind of boring stuff, so people don't follow it. But and because no one really is up in arms about it that much. I mean, there are a few, right? But
have you talked to Nancy Shepherd?
I do. Yes, of course.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah. I mean, it's and so because most of my colleagues focus for the most part development or anti-development or something like that. I try to focus on this because I just think this doesn't get enough airtime. I think that the finances, here's an example. So right now, we're one of the biggest bull runs in our lifetime. Now, of course, the stock market just crashed recently, but it's still one of the best bull runs of our lifetime, right?
It's insane.
Yeah. So our neighboring city, Mountain View, they ran a budget surplus of $100 million.
Right. Well, where is Palo Alto's budget surplus?
We are. There is no surplus.
If you ask me which city I prefer to live in, I prefer to live in Mountain View, hands down. They're getting so much done right.
Well,
right now, in my opinion,
fiscally, during a good time, you want to be socking away money, and they socked away a ton of money, which is good. And Palo Alto, we are running a deficit right now.
Shit.
So we basically take money out of our budget stabilization reserve, right? So this contrasts the two cities, right? I mean, we're right next to each other.
That's insane.
And one city we're taking money off of BSR, the other one they ran $100 million surplus. So what is going on here, right? I mean, you would think we should have maybe not $100 million surplus, but we should have a massive surplus too, right? But it's not like that. So, so I think that's why for me I really watch this stuff carefully.
So it's not just. Oh yeah. Well, we have a family story. All these Eichlers are the fault of my grandfather. He was an accountant, and Joe Eichler was going out of business. This was 1955, 1953, something like that. He was $100,000 in the red, which is a lot in 1950.
Well, I can imagine. The house was $5,000 or $10,000.
Yeah, right. And within a year, so Al was a beam counter, and he just made sure every nail and every inch of lumber was accounted for. I mean, must have been My sister's really, really obsessive and strange like that. And
Mm.
it's like I think he was a little OCD. You know, you have to be that driven to keep track of those many details. And in a year, not only was he not $100,000 in debt, he was $100,000 in the black.
Yeah.
So I there's just housekeeping. The LA Times recently pointed out that there's 22% of the gas tax money that we pay is unaccounted for.
Oh my God. Okay. I didn't hear about that. That's pretty tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, where's it all going?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Oh, interesting. So a lot of it isn't just the need for tax base.
Well, we actually have a lot of revenue. We have like a record amount.
There's plenty of revenue.
I mean, we have more revenue than we've ever had. Like the problem is, like I said, it's like how fast do your expenses go up versus your revenue?
So
And right now, you will.
Okay, so what do you? So that's okay. So you don't see there's a need for a new tax base in particular.
Well, so the fundamental problem is that if you grow your expense base faster than your tax base, it doesn't matter how fast your tax base grows, right? You fundamentally
Sure.
you fundamentally need
So
to
you've got to make sure that the expense base doesn't grow
faster than your tax base, right?
So what are you going for? What's this? What's your?
What I'm trying to go for accountability. I'm trying to go for more transparency. I'm trying to.
Right.
I've been pushing.
Is there a way to put it in the structure?
Well, I've been pushing the city manager. The current city manager will never do it. So I've been fighting tooth and nail for a couple of years now, and he absolutely will not do it.
He's retired.
He's retiring, but the new city manager might. I don't know. I'm trying to push for greater transparency.
Why didn't Jim Keane want to do that?
He like I asked him for like just basic information, and he feels that I mean you have a better chance as a public citizen than I do as a council person to get that information.
What?
Yeah, so it's not.
What? You need moles.
Well, there are people out there who
We'll go.
who do feel as passionate about this stuff as I do, who will do public records requests and things like that. But that's what it takes, right? Because right now,
citizens doing public records requests.
yeah, I mean, right now,
Oh, Jesus.
right now, like for instance, sorry. How much time do you have left?
Oh no, I think there's only for 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay. Okay.
Is there someone else out there waiting?
No.
Okay,
Well,
well-
I mean, just telling you.
Okay,
Just
okay,
quickly.
okay.
I mean,
You're doing
it.
You're doing your job.
So, where were we?
City
Oh
manager.
yeah. So I think the best way to kind of clean up this kind of stuff is what I call sunshine, right? Basically transparency, putting this stuff out on the public, putting it in electronic form on the web where people can look at it, right?
So I need to start focusing my letters to the editor on this.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
You got it.
Yeah, because I think
I can do that.
when there's more sunshine, you know, these kind of like really murky things don't
Who
happen.
else has information on this?
Well, the city has a lot of information, but a lot of it's not released. So, and
So you really need citizens to start to tackle.
yeah, I mean, I think,
Get more of the.
I'm hoping that
Okay.
the new city manager is not as adverse to this kind of stuff. Like, for instance, one thing I think we should do is when we try to see, you know, like, so when we're doing budgeting right now, or we're looking to raise rates or something like that, we just look at what it was last year, right? So the only basis for comparison is what was done last year. There's no basis of, well, what did other cities do, right? So let's say, for instance, you wanna like figure out, should we raise water rates again or not, right? Largely what the city does is it just looks at.
So that's why you were against it,
Against what?
raising the utility rates.
Oh, I was very against that. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that one.
Yeah, because I think.
We already pay like, oh my gosh, no, we have a rental property in San Diego. Their utilities are 60% of ours.
Yeah, I mean it's.
And it's not like they use anything. No, I mean, okay, we use a little more heat in winter, but
Well, I mean, theoretically, compared to most other cities, we actually have a humongous capital dollars invested in our own utilities, right? So theoretically, we should have much lower rate
yes,
than comparable cities, right?
yes, and you have
Right.
Tom Marshall to pay
Right.
for it.
So
Yeah. Oh, yes, I agree.
yeah, because if you're buying utilities from someone else, then that capital cost needs to be amortized, right? So your rates should be higher, but in all cases, our rates are the same, or if not higher, right? Which is kind of a mind bender, right? Because theoretically, like it's like renting versus owning, right? If you're owning your house, your monthly cost after you paid your mortgage off should be theoretically lower than someone paying rent, right? Otherwise, just rent, right? You don't have to have that capital tied up. But in our case, it's not quite like that, right? It's kind of like sometimes our rates are actually higher than where it would be.
We need Jim Dauber
So-
to get on this. We
Well-
need him off the school board and help in the city.
There needs to be more. I think
Yes.
the problem is they're just not, for financial issues, there's so little interest from the public on this kind of topic that for most part, nobody's really following it very closely, right? But anyways, so one of the things I think that we need to do is have true comparables. What I mean by comparables is not just looking at what happened last year, right? Because that's not good enough. What if the rate's already high? Right?
No, right? You can't. I know you can't just know.
Yeah.
That bugs the crap out of me. The utilities. Well, do you look at your utilities bill? And I always am looking at what I used.
Yeah.
But I need to look at 10 years.
Well, not just
You
that,
know,
but
and it would be nicer to compare it to.
other cities, right? So I think what we should have is KPIs, like key performance indicators, that we could compare. Okay, so what does
Key performance indicators.
Yeah,
Sure.
so basically,
This makes so much sense.
yeah, so just basically not just look at don't judge ourselves, don't have our sole baseline being what happened last year, but have our baseline being what is it compared to other cities, so that we have comparables. Now, the big pushback you get from staff is that Palo Alto is such a unique snowflake that we cannot compare ourselves to anyone else.
Oh, good God! Oh, those!
Yeah, so.
Oh my God!
So that's
Okay,
what-
I won't
that's what-
repeat that. I will not repeat that.
So-
Oh my God!
So that's what I'm told.
Oh, that's hysterical!
So I'm told that no,
Well, they're just lazy.
it's like
They don't want to do it.
You know, like
No, I think
our services here are so unique that you cannot compare against any other city, and to do so would be heresy. And to me, it's like, I mean,
Oh, my dad would. Oh, you
Yeah.
know what? My dad was. You know, I guess he moved our family here. We weren't a family yet.
Mm.
He was San Francisco native, and he spotted Palo Alto. He's like, this is going to be a really good place to be. And it actually was. It's ironic because, my sisters. How we all ended up getting my husband and my sisters. I'm out of the loop on the tech.
Mhm.
They were at Jordan Junior High School, and one of their companions, classmates, worked at Xerox Research Park.
Mhm.
When some kids like to get involved in computers way back in 1975, right?
sure.
You know, these things happened in Palo Alto. It was very. So he spotted it, but he has been. He says that city takes itself too seriously by half. He's like he lived. So I think he lived here for about. He lived here for about 50 years before he retired to Carson City. But he has the same, and he was railing about he was talking about how they were blowing it financially. So I can't believe they're just being so stupid with their finances.
Yeah.
This was in the 70s and the 80s.
Well, I think.
I'll talk to him more about it. He's still alive and has what's about him. Okay, so
Well, I think one of the key things to know, like whether the city is doing well in there or not doing well, is basically comparing against other cities, right? So equivalent service, right?
Oh yeah.
So you could, like, for instance, you could look at, the average cost per employee per
Well, I
city
can tell
versus
you
here
this,
versus another city,
in
right?
terms of living here in 1970, between in this late 70s, early 80s, law enforcement was really good.
Mm.
They've gotten kind of shitty here.
Mm.
Not terrible, but you can't get any traffic enforcement. It's very, it's not what's it's the law. It's not that our law enforcement. The quality of it has gone down.
Well,
As in terms of public service, has gone
Yeah.
down significantly. All the services we're experiencing are going down.
Yeah.
I needed law enforcement in San Jose the other day. That was a joke.
Hmm.
So some cities, but San Jose has been working so hard.
Yeah.
And right now I've been watching them work really, really, really hard
Mm.
for 40 years, and they're coming into their own as a city. They're really doing it.
Mm.
They've really focused on what's going to make us a good place for people to live.
Yeah.
And it's been 30 years of hard work, and they're doing it. And it's like, if you ask me if I wanted to live in downtown Palo Alto or downtown San Jose, right now I said downtown San Jose, hands down. If I had the freedom to move without, my life is just, you're not as old as I am, but you get sort of like, I think I can still move this little finger here. It's like
Sure.
trying to unmoor. It's like,
Yeah, I know.
God, it's gonna kill me at this point.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I
yeah,
just don't know how I would love to live in downtown at this point. I mean, it's just what they've I'm like, wow, they finally got a lot of ducks in line. They're really moving that way. So yeah. So people have a warped opinion. Some things in Palo Alto, they keep saying it's the greatest city. I'm like,
well, I think
according to who?
well, I think there's a
It's
lot.
not anymore.
I think there's a lot of good things that happen in Palo Alto, but there's a lot of things, especially on the financial side, which I think could be tightened up, right? And I think,
No, you can't live and ignore money. It's stupid.
yeah, well,
You can.
I think like what you said about city services is interesting because the number of employees has gone down, but the expense has gone up, right? So, so your perception is actually reality, which is that like there actually are less police, right? There are less. I mean,
No,
they cost a lot more, but
and they're not as good.
so
No, they're not community oriented.
yeah. Well, I think it's harder also when you have less people because you're trying to do
More jobs.
you're trying to do the same with more people. I mean, you're trying to do more with less, or maybe the same with less people. But I mean, that's the challenge is that while the average resident is paying a lot more, right, in taxes, they're actually getting, in my opinion, less, right? Which is kind of ironic, right? Because you would think you pay more, you get
No,
more,
I
right?
believe it.
Right? You would think that's what should happen, right? But I think it's been hard. So I think, the thing I've been really pushing for, and I'm hoping that you and others will write in about it, is push for us to have comparables against other cities. I think that's
Okay.
yeah. I
That's
think
what you want.
yeah. I think if we do
Okay.
that, then we can see how we stand. Maybe
Okay.
some areas we're doing outstanding, some areas we're not doing well. Right?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you probably have someone else. I can let you go.
Yeah. But thank you for
So
coming.
no. I will start.
And tell all your friends to write in about that too. So.
No. I'll start chipping away. You have to get the right little lever in there. You have to get the right lever.
Yeah.
Once you got the right lever, and it doesn't take much, but it has to be a very clear thought.
Yeah.
And you start to introduce that idea to people.
Yeah.
I've just got to find the right level.
Yeah, just having comparables, right?
Well, it's really simple. I can get any oil and gas conservative to switch to solar in a heartbeat. It's really easy. You just say, well, did you know that if terrorists take out 9 key power plants, the whole United States is in blackout? We'll never recover. You don't understand what that means. No ATMs, no gas pumps, no water being pumped into cities for water. You understand the kind of breakdown.
Yeah.
Now, why, you want to tell me why rooftop solar is a problem?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, you have to get people wet. You have to find, because the conservatives aren't concerned, they're concerned about freedom and individual rights.
Sure.
Not climate change. So you talk to them with the level that they want. So anyway, I've got to find out the right. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, well, I didn't expect it to go.